What if I told you that one of the most famous celebrity homes in America is quietly changing hands behind the scenes?
Prince Harry, now better really get used to this life that he's created for himself.
A man who was once a prince reportedly found himself at a gathering in California, feeling emotional and opening up to people he barely knew. According to stories that have circulated for years, he spoke about wanting a different life, a fresh direction, a way out of the situation he felt trapped in, and a path that looked very different from the one he was currently living.
The reports here in America are that they are having major financial problems. I actually read a report last week that they may be very quietly shopping their $14 million Montecito mansion, that it may be something of a pocket listing.
Now, reports and speculation surrounding the mansion that was meant to represent independence and a brand new beginning have sparked fresh discussion. If those reports are accurate, they raise plenty of questions about what may really have been happening behind the scenes. But to understand why this story matters, we need to go back to the beginning. This is not really a story about a house. It is a story about a promise. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal life and boarded what many later called the Freedom Flight, they made it clear they were starting over. They were leaving royal duties behind, leaving the UK and building a new future on their own terms.
Crying, confided to these people at the party that Meghan Markle is refusing to sign the documents unless he can guarantee prevent her from putting his kids on social media.
The message was straightforward. They wanted more privacy. They wanted more control over their lives. They wanted greater independence. And for a time, it seemed like everything was falling into place. The California mansion, the Netflix partnership, the Spotify deal, magazine covers, charitable projects, and business ventures all appeared to support the idea that they could build a successful life outside the royal system. But critics have raised questions for years. They argued that the public image often looked very different from the discussions taking place behind the scenes.
The royal marriage may be on the verge of total collapse, and the allegations coming out are absolutely explosive. Furious and visibly frustrated, Prince Harry allegedly revealed that he feels he was completely catfished by the woman he married.
The lifestyle appeared expensive, the projects faced constant attention, and many observers wondered whether everything was working as smoothly as it seemed. Now, several years later, more commentators and royal observers are asking similar questions. The story coming out of Montecito today looks very different from the one many people expected when this journey first began. The so-called Freedom Flight may have taken them thousands of miles away from royal life, but some critics argue that the outcome has not matched every expectation that surrounded the move. Before we get into the latest reports involving the mansion,
The sprawling estate became the backdrop for everything. The backdrop for their Netflix deal, their Spotify, their interviews, the magazine features, all of their business launches, their family photos. This mansion became more than a house. It became a symbol that they had successfully left the royal family behind a created new life in America.
And yes, they have generated plenty of conversation. There is one detail that often gets overlooked. Most people have never actually seen inside Harry and Meghan's private residence. Think about that for a moment. Over the years, audiences have watched documentaries, interviews, promotional clips, and carefully produced behind-the-scenes footage. Yet reports suggest many of those appearances were filmed somewhere other than the home where they actually live. Their Montecito estate, often called the Chateau of Riven Rock, sits on approximately 7.5 acres and reportedly includes 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, a movie theater, spa facilities, a wine cellar, and a tennis court. The property was purchased in 2020 for $14.5 million. Meghan later explained that maintaining privacy and protecting what she described as their safe haven was extremely important.
But 6 years later, many of the plans that were supposed to be defined by this home, this new life, everything had changed dramatically. So we know Spotify is gone. Netflix has become increasingly really uncertain. Like, what is this? They're trying not to hurt their feelings, but still be available for big breaking divorce news. Several business ventures have struggled to gain traction for them. Let's just be honest. And Harry himself appears to be spending more and more time away from his home in Montecito, pursuing separate projects. That's the reality.
That is why, according to reports, Harry and Meghan used a different property on Lilac Drive while filming their widely discussed Netflix documentary rather than their own residence. Later, when Meghan launched her lifestyle and cooking series, viewers once again were reportedly not seeing the family's actual home. Instead, a different property was reportedly used for filming, a different backdrop, a carefully chosen setting. That means the version of Montecito life audiences have watched over the years may not actually be the residence where Harry and Meghan live, while their real home has remained largely out of public view the entire time. Now think about this for a moment. If a public image is built around lifestyle, home life, entertaining, and selected behind-the-scenes moments, why keep the actual residence so private? That is a question more people have started asking as interest in the story continues to grow. That question becomes even more interesting when you look back at how Harry and Meghan first arrived in North America. Contrary to what many remember, they did not immediately settle into a luxury estate in Montecito.
She is such a wonderful ambassador to the royal family, and it is incredibly touching to see her be so empathetic and compassionate towards people that have suffered or are suffering from something that unfortunately she's had to experience herself. You're talking about sitting at her wedding. Did you ever think she'd be such an exquisite princess?
Reports indicate they first stayed at Tyler Perry's highly secured property while planning the next stage of their lives. Tyler Perry, one of Hollywood's most successful and influential figures, welcomed them during a major period of transition. At the time, that gesture attracted significant media attention and became a major talking point. Since then, some commentators and longtime followers of the story have speculated about whether Perry's support extended beyond simply providing a place to stay. Questions have circulated about whether additional assistance may have helped the couple establish themselves in California. It is important to note that these claims remain unverified speculation. Perry has not publicly confirmed them, and Harry and Meghan have not directly addressed them either. Even so, one question continues to surface. When the Montecito property was purchased in 2020 for $14.5 million, the couple had only recently stepped away from their roles as working royals.
The question then becomes, why now? So what could actually be causing this move? What is actually leading this theory of a move? Well, let's assume for a moment that the rumors are true. What would motivate a move? Well, we know that there are several possibilities. First, privacy. Ironically, the couple who moved to Montecito for privacy have spent years battling media attention in California.
Several of their major media projects were still developing, and many of the revenue sources commonly associated with them today were still in the early stages. As a result, discussions about how the purchase was financed have continued for years, and as new reports about business ventures and financial matters continue to appear, those questions are once again attracting attention. Now let's talk about money, because this is where the conversation becomes especially fascinating. Maintaining a large estate in Montecito is extremely expensive. Reports cited by Page 6 suggested that the annual cost of maintaining such a lifestyle could reach millions of dollars each year. And we are not talking about investments or growing wealth. We are talking about ongoing expenses, security teams, household staff, landscaping, property taxes, maintenance, and all the costs that come with running a luxury estate. The figures often discussed are enough to catch anyone's attention.
But what we have to see here is that Harry and Meghan increasingly pursuing independent projects, separate appearances. Meghan most recently spoke out how she just wants to separate herself from Harry and the royal drama, showing she's more independent. She's not really relying on him anymore, because she's off at the races, doing her own thing.
Then there is the question of income. Several projects that once appeared to be long-term successes have faced changes along the way. The Spotify partnership came to an end, generating widespread media coverage. During the public discussion that followed, a Spotify executive referred to the couple as grifters, a remark that quickly spread across headlines, commentary, and social media platforms. The Netflix partnership has also become a major topic of discussion. While the relationship continues, several reports suggest it may not look exactly the way it did when the original agreement first captured global attention. At the same time, reports about public appearances and speaking engagements have created their own debate. Commentators continue to watch attendance figures, ticket sales.
So when Harry and Meghan purchased their Montecito estate in 2020, it wasn't presented as a temporary stop. It was presented as their fresh start, their California dream, their escape from royal life. Now, their chance to build new futures on their own terms was going to be with this new home, starting fresh. It was a go.
Audience engagement and overall public interest. Almost every new development seems to trigger another round of discussion. Then royal commentator Maureen Callahan made remarks that quickly grabbed attention and reignited the conversation. Suddenly, people were not only talking about past headlines, but also wondering what the future might hold. Callahan's argument was straightforward, but it generated significant discussion. She stated, "The Sussexes are having a lot of trouble monetizing what they used to monetize," and suggested that much of the attention surrounding them was once closely connected to their royal ties. According to her view, that source of public interest may no longer attract the same level of attention it once did. Whether people agree with that assessment or not, it highlights a challenge many public figures eventually encounter.
Their finances. Maintaining a massive estate is expensive. You've got security, you've got staff, you've got maintenance, you've got the landscaping, you've got the property taxes. The annual cost alone can be staggering. And third, lifestyle. The reality of living somewhere often turns out to be very, very different from the dream that sold you on it, right?
What happens when the factor that originally brought enormous attention starts losing some of its impact? That question continues to hang over much of the discussion surrounding this story. While many people focus on finances, another development has been unfolding more quietly in the background. Reports suggest Archewell has experienced noticeable staff turnover, including several senior figures who held important positions within the organization. According to various reports, a deputy U.S. press secretary has departed. A long-serving UK media liaison has reportedly moved on as well. Other experienced team members are also said to have left within a relatively short period. These changes did not come with major public announcements. Instead, they appeared to happen quietly, one after another. Of course, staff turnover is common in almost every organization. People pursue new opportunities, change careers, and move in different directions all the time. On its own, that is not unusual.
Precisely, when you stop to think he got $1 million from JP Morgan, I mean, that shows to what extent they have declined. I've been told that they are in big trouble financially, hence why they had to get rid of most of their expensive staff.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I understand that things are very rocky with them at the moment. And of course, we have to have one tail left eye in sympathy.
However, some observers point out that when an organization is already facing questions about future projects, audience engagement, and long-term plans, the departure of experienced communications personnel naturally attracts additional attention. These are not just ordinary roles. They are often positions held by people with extensive knowledge of how the organization operates behind the scenes. That is why some commentators view these departures as more than routine staffing adjustments. They see them as possible signs of a broader transition taking place in the background. Whether that interpretation is correct remains open to debate, but the speculation has certainly continued. History has shown something interesting time and time again. When high-profile organizations experience periods of change, details often emerge gradually over time. Former employees move on, industry sources share observations, and separate pieces of information sometimes begin forming a clearer picture.
The sprawling estate became the backdrop for everything. The backdrop for their Netflix deal, their Spotify, their interviews, the magazine features, all of their business launches, their family photos. This mansion became more than a house. It became a symbol that they had successfully left the royal family behind a created new life in America.
That is one reason many people are watching closely to see what happens next. Now let's move to another part of the story that some critics consider especially significant, even though very little has been discussed publicly about it so far. Montecito is widely known as one of the most exclusive communities in America. Some of the biggest names in entertainment, business, and media live there. People with significant wealth, influence, and connections call the area home. It is a place where privacy is highly valued, relationships matter, and social circles can be extremely selective. Over the past several years, reports and commentary have suggested that Harry and Meghan may not be as closely connected to the local celebrity scene as some people originally expected.
Her business, as ever, seems to be failing. And Harry is basically going around the country pocketing about 200, 300K per paid speech to private corporations in North America. What are you hearing, Lady C?
Well, I'm hearing, first of all, that he only got 50,000 for Canada.
Oh, that is brutal. Brutal.
And you can now get him from 30 to 50,000 for smaller things, and it goes up to a maximum of 100 for larger things. That's what I'm hearing. Clearly, you're hearing something slightly different.
Well, the numbers are inflated here in America because I would bet your sourcing is dead on. 30K? That is a bargain basement.
There have been claims of social distance, fewer visible public associations, and less obvious involvement in elite circles that many assumed would welcome them with open arms. It is important to remember that much of this remains speculation. There has been no major public campaign against them, no wave of interviews criticizing them, no dramatic public statements. However, some critics argue that a lack of visible connections can attract attention just as much as major headlines. After all, when they relocated to California, many people expected them to become major figures within Hollywood's most influential social networks. That expectation became part of the larger story surrounding their move. A fresh start, powerful connections, and new opportunities waiting around every corner. Yet the reality may be more complex. One lesson seems to appear repeatedly throughout this story. Leaving behind a title, a country, or an institution does not necessarily mean leaving behind public scrutiny. Perceptions often follow people wherever they go. And that brings us to what some observers consider one of the most interesting developments yet. Now we come to another twist that has sparked fresh discussion.
Harry and Meghan's lifestyle comes with a big price tag. Their Montecito mansion isn't exactly cheap. $14 million was spent on the house, which boasts a pool and tennis court, as well as famous neighbours. Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres live nearby. The couple's reportedly planning to sell up and move to Malibu, although unconfirmed, it's unclear if they need to downsize to free up some cash, or they just desire a change of scenery for their family of 4. Prince Harry takes security of his loved ones very seriously and pays for around-the-clock bodyguards, thought to cost millions of dollars a year.
According to reports and claims from various sources, Meghan may not be completely satisfied with Montecito as a long-term base. The issue, according to those reports, involves location. While Montecito offers privacy and luxury, it also requires regular travel to Los Angeles for meetings, business opportunities, and industry connections. Sources have claimed that living closer to the center of activity would be preferable. Areas such as Bel Air and Malibu have reportedly been mentioned as possibilities, potentially placing her closer to Hollywood, business contacts, and the entertainment industry she has long been associated with. But here is where the story takes another turn. Even if relocation is being considered, making it happen may be far more complicated than it sounds. According to commentators who closely follow reports about finances and property matters, maintaining one luxury estate is already a major commitment. Maintaining 2 properties at the same time would be a completely different challenge. That is where the discussion becomes much more complicated. The Montecito estate may have increased significantly in value since its purchase. Some estimates place its value well above the original price paid.
According to insiders, the prince confessed that he wants a divorce and claims he would have never married Meghan if a specific person, and he named the person, and we're going to give you the name of the person during the video, hadn't personally vouched for her character and encouraged him to date this woman. And here's where the drama reaches another level, because witnesses claim that he told that Meghan Markle has no intention of agreeing to a divorce unless Harry meets the list of extraordinary, outrageous demand, which has created a standoff between Harry and Meghan Markle, which could drag on for years.
However, financial experts often point out that property value on paper and available cash are not the same thing. A home can be worth millions while still generating substantial yearly expenses. So if reports about a possible move are accurate, any decision could depend heavily on timing, finances, and what happens with the current property first. In other words, it may not be as simple as packing up and heading down the coast tomorrow. And that is where many critics see an interesting layer of irony in this story. Harry stepped away from royal life in search of greater independence and flexibility. Montecito was presented as a symbol of a fresh beginning, a place where new opportunities could grow away from palace traditions and royal expectations. Yet some reports now describe a very different picture. According to those accounts, the couple may once again be facing limitations, not because of royal duties or institutional rules, but because of practical realities that affect people from all walks of life. That contrast is one reason the story continues to attract so much attention. Now let's get to the claim that has generated some of the biggest discussion. Because everything we've covered so far, questions about finances, staff changes, future plans, and reports about wanting a different location, seems to lead back to one central rumor.
The secret sale theory is this. Now, let's talk about the rumor, what is going on. Now, according to information circulating privately, there are claims that the property may be quietly marketed behind the scenes. Again, there is no real public evidence or public listing of this, no official information, no verified real estate documents. But what I do have is I have an email that Paula M. sent to me that I found interesting.
For months, reports and speculation have circulated suggesting that the Montecito property may be attracting interest behind the scenes. It is important to emphasize that these claims remain unverified. There has been no public listing, no official announcement, and no confirmation from Harry or Meghan themselves. According to the rumors, if conversations are taking place, they may not be happening through traditional public channels. Instead, the reports describe the kind of discreet process often associated with luxury real estate transactions. Private brokers, confidential discussions, carefully screened buyers, the type of arrangements designed to keep public attention to a minimum. Some claims have even suggested that strict confidentiality measures could be used during private viewings, although none of those reports have been independently confirmed. Even so, details like these tend to keep speculation alive and fuel ongoing conversation. Here is why many observers find the story so compelling. If the property were ever sold, people would immediately start asking questions. Would it simply be a lifestyle choice? A decision to relocate?
Okay, so that's what that looks like. The luxury real estate world, some of the biggest transactions never appear on public websites. Now, celebrities, they frequently use private brokers. They have these private showings, private buyer networks, a lot of confidentiality, and then they have these agreements. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why? Why do they need to do that? Because the last thing a celebrity wants is 1,000 strangers touring their home or photographs documenting every viewing. Now, if Harry and Meghan were exploring a sale, an off-market approach would actually make perfect sense.
Or would some interpret it as evidence of broader changes taking place behind the scenes? That is why a possible sale carries so much significance for supporters and critics alike. To some, it would simply mean a wealthy family choosing a different home. To others, it could become a symbol of whether the California chapter matched the expectations that surrounded it from the start. For now, none of these reports have been officially confirmed. But if there is one thing people have learned from stories involving celebrities, major brands, and luxury real estate, it is that information often finds its way into public view sooner or later. Details emerge, discussions grow, and eventually a clearer picture tends to develop. And beneath the headlines, the financial questions, the property rumors, the business developments, and the staff changes, there is another side of the story that many people find genuinely thought-provoking. Regardless of where someone stands on Harry and Meghan, some reports have painted a picture of a person adjusting to a life that has changed dramatically over the years. Various claims have suggested that Harry spoke openly during a social gathering in Los Angeles about frustrations and personal challenges. It is important to stress that these reports remain unverified, but they have certainly sparked widespread discussion online. According to those reports, he expressed disappointment about how certain parts of his post-royal life have unfolded. Some claims have also suggested that he misses aspects of his former life in the United Kingdom.
Meanwhile, the couple's children are said to be caught in the middle as emotions run high and the conflict intensifies. What is worse for Harry is that he did turn to the palace, asking them for help, to help them mediate between him and Meghan Markle, because at this point in time, they can't even talk to each other without getting into arguments. And we're going to hear from Harry, and we're going to show you how Meghan Markle tricked this man.
Given that I didn't know a lot about him, everything that I've learned about him, I learned through him.
How she really catfished him.
Values old family connections and may view some past decisions differently today than he did years ago. The family situation is also a frequent topic among royal commentators. Because Harry and Meghan have established their lives in California, any significant change involving where they live would naturally involve major personal considerations. That is one reason speculation about the future continues to attract so much attention. Meanwhile, Harry's relationship with the royal family remains a constant subject of discussion. Every family gathering, public appearance, and reported interaction tends to generate new headlines. Fairly or unfairly, many people continue comparing those relationships today with where they appeared to stand several years ago. Even places that once symbolized his royal life have changed. Circumstances evolve, properties take on new purposes, family dynamics shift, and institutions continue moving forward. Time has a way of reshaping everything, whether people expect it or not.
The timing is very interesting. Yeah, so what makes this particular story fascinating is the timing. Now, at the same moment, reports continue emerging about Frogmore Cottage being renovated and repurposed in the United Kingdom. Speculation is growing about the future of the Sussex's California base. Now, it's almost symbolic. The UK home is gone, the royal role is gone, and now some are wondering whether the California dream could eventually be next.
Perhaps that is what makes this story so compelling. Years ago, Harry and Meghan presented a vision of a completely different future. Supporters saw independence and opportunity, critics saw risks and uncertainty. Both sides believed they understood where the story was heading. Now, years later, many people are looking at those same events through a different lens. For longtime royal watchers, the biggest question is no longer why Harry and Meghan left. The question many are asking now is whether the life they built turned out the way they originally imagined when they made that decision in the first place. Got something to say about this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get into it. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Tap that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it.